Okay, everyone, welcome to our very special Rangers review episode. We have former Rangers title winner, 55 winner Kemar Roofe to join us to talk all things Rangers. We're going to get into his new business venture, what he's been doing since, and of course, how he is keeping an eye on how things are unfolding at Ibrox. Kemar, thank you firstly for joining us. How are you getting on at the moment?
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me. Really good. Like you said, keeping an eye on Rangers from a distance. Because once you're a player, it's always inside you. You always become a fan if you're not playing anymore. So I'm always watching from a distance.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about Steven Gerrard given ongoing events and Rangers since Kemar has left. But we will start with what's going on at the moment, Kemar, for you. What life has held since leaving Rangers in terms of your career. Want to get into the Two Halves journal and also the Kemar Roofe Academy, which you've been busy starting. So why don't we begin there? Maybe you could intro a little bit about the different business ventures you've been exploring in the last couple of years, and maybe we can then get into a little bit of the backstory, because I know that the backstory of the Two Halves journal kind of extends right back throughout the entirety of your career.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, a lot of this started when I was out of contract last season. So for me, I can't just sit on the sofa and be doing nothing. My mind's always ticking. I need to get out there, either physically out on the pitch and be running, playing football, or if I'm at home, I need to be up to something. And the Two Halves journal was a blessing in disguise, because yes, ideally I wanted to be playing football and be signed somewhere, but that time at home allowed me to create the Two Halves journal. It's something that, like you said, I've been doing for my whole career, but I haven't been able to have it in one format. So I was able to create something, and it seems to be doing really well with the public and helping a lot of young players, especially. The feedback I'm getting is really nice, because it's something I've created and it's benefiting somebody in a very positive way. So for me, that's an incredible feeling. So that's a bit of that. And then also, so this season again, while I'm still out of contract, I'm trying to keep myself busy and open up a football academy. Again, if I'm not playing football myself, I still want to be able to influence football somehow. And the next way is obviously coaching, or arranging the best coaches possible to help the kids have a bright future and help their development, like my dad did for me when I was younger.
Yeah, so the Two Halves journal, it's a really interesting backstory. If people don't know, I'm sure a lot of people have heard you speak about it, seen on your Instagram. It's a journal, a booklet that you've developed, which, as I understand it, gives prompts and is effectively helping players to reflect, to improve and learn. And that's a process that I think goes all the way back to when you used to watch games with your dad, right up from when you were in the West Brom Academy. So you were doing analysis before it was popular, but is that right, that it's kind of something that you were taught and now you've used it in your career, and it's a very natural step for you to help, as you say, other young players learn and develop with that tool as well?
Yeah, exactly. It's something I've been doing my whole career. The only thing that's changed is technology's changed now, so it's a bit easier to analyze your game with different softwares. But for me, the basics is key. Is actually writing something down and clearing out your thoughts in your head. Put it on a piece of paper, and you can always go back to it and read it again. And also, a really good story. Someone in my daughter's team, she played a team 1 week, wrote down what she did well and what she didn't do well, and then 3 weeks later, she had that same team again in the cup. So she looked back at the previous game and looked at what she didn't do well and what she did do well, so that she can make those adjustments for the following game. And it helped her massively, not to overthink things and just play relaxed and most importantly, enjoy the game.
Did it? You did this while you were right throughout your career, right? But you didn't have maybe the format or that, which is what this time out of contract allowed you. But were you always writing down? Because if I think of your time at Rangers, and again we'll come on to this, it's not an easy place to play football, and especially for new signings, it's not an easy place to play football. The year that you came in, while it was COVID, the pressure to win that title was unlike anything in most people's living memories. So had you been using that tool right throughout your whole career in a way to, as you say, play relaxed because you'd maybe processed the last game instead of allowing, especially maybe as a striker, certain misses or certain performances to impact you and continue to play on your mind?
Yeah, exactly that. So obviously, before the journal, I was writing it down on pieces of paper or writing it down on my notes in my phone. But again, you would lose the pieces of paper, or you might do other notes and then those notes get pushed down to your phone, so you'll lose them. It's not there. Whereas the journal makes it so simple. It's in your face. You can't lose it. You can always go back to it. And I've always done it. And it's also, when I used to work with a sports psychologist as well, it's the same format. In that profession, you visualize things, you write it down, and then you come back to it. And it's the journal prompts you with certain questions to allow the person to just answer them simply and honestly. So again, they're not having to overthink just to write something down. It's made very simple for them.
And is that because football now, especially with social media, is so 24/7, and I can imagine as a player, if you're on social media and you're playing for a club, any club, it's one the size of Rangers, but also maybe if you're academy players, is it about healthy coping mechanisms? So I guess you can still switch off to a degree and learn to process things, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like we can't really measure it, mentality or the ability to, it's not easily transferable on like a FIFA statistic of how good you are at out of 100. But maybe just from your experience as well of the players you've played with, some of the managers that you've worked with, is that ability to even turn mentally challenging things into more of a positive frame, is that an underrated thing that we maybe don't acknowledge, those of us who are looking from the outside in a football point of view?
Yeah, massively. But I think the game is getting better with the whole mental health and psychology now. Back in the day, it wasn't so much, but now it's open. It's out in the open, and people like myself talk about it freely and not feel any type of way. Proud to be doing it. But like you said, you can't measure mental strength or mental weakness. You can't measure it. But it always seems like there's a common denominator with successful people, successful players, that it's the best attribute is their mental strength, because you're gonna face difficult times, but it's how you overcome this. Again, for myself, unfortunate at Rangers with the injuries that I had, I always made sure as soon as I was back on that pitch after an injury, I was ready to affect a game. And I think I was able to show this, get back to a high level and try and help the team win and score goals.
Yeah, so you were able to do that with quite. I think like the Real Betis, was it Real Betis away from home? You scored the winner, and the Aberdeen in the semi-final. That was both instances where you maybe hadn't been that involved, but you were able to, from your point of view, get back up to speed and impact things quickly when you were then on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously, when you're injured, you can't be out there doing all the runs, the training, the physical training like everyone else. But what you can do is then you can still train your mind, your brain, and still be learning. You can watch the training sessions. You can watch the analysis videos as if you're playing. Then you can visualize it. So really, you're out there with the rest of the players learning what you need to do for that game. And then you just need to wait your time and get that chance to then implement it.
Who were the players that kind of stand out from you that you'd learn from, not just in a technical or tactical perspective, but who maybe taught you this? I know you speak there about your dad, and he played such a formative role for you. But was there figures before and after Rangers, whether they be manager and player? I know you've worked with Vincent Kompany as well as Steven Gerrard and a load of other names who you've gleaned some of this information and knowledge from that you're trying to pass on now with your business too?
Yeah, so every manager and players I've worked with, I always try and take a little bit of something from them as a selfish thing to help my game, and collect it all and take the what I think is the positive sides of things and put it into one place. And then it's probably my turn now to help and distribute my knowledge to the younger generation, and hence why I wanted to do the Roof Academy, to be able to help the next generation and develop them with a bit of my experience and knowledge.
Yeah. So were you one of these players who always thought you would coach, and do you see yourself with the Roof Academy? I know you're still looking for a club at the moment and still got more to offer on the pitch. Is this youth academy, is that an area you think you'll stay in? Or are you a player who thinks I want to be a manager long term? Are you still figuring it out, as I guess we all are to some extent? Where are you kind of with all those different moving pieces?
Do you know what? When I was younger, I never wanted to really be a coach or a manager. It was just football, score goals, win games. And as a striker, as a goal scorer, you kind of have to have a bit of a selfish mentality at times or not so much selfish. It's a football phrase, a killer mentality. So I'm there to win no matter what, win, score goals, and that's it. And be ruthless with it. So to be able to separate that and being a coach is very difficult, because a coach and a manager, you have to be selfless and be more open-minded. But during my career, with a bit more experience, and then working with different managers and coaches, they've kind of ignited something in me and kind of made the game more of like a what's the word? Like a project, like a puzzle, a task, and that's where I find the creative side of the game, trying to figure out different scenarios to win or to improve. So I think that's where I'm kind of getting the coaching side of it into me now, and I do actually now finding developing somebody and their attributes really exciting.
You obviously worked under Bielsa, who is famed for his analysis, wasn't he? Were they long sessions, and did you? I presume you learned quite a lot from a man who's kind of like one of the most formative football coaches of his generation, really, isn't he?
Yeah. Again, to be honest, my idea of being a coach probably started under Bielsa. I think he changed the way I thought about football. As simple as formations. Before him, I didn't understand why managers kept changing formations before games, because I would play 4-3-3 one game. Next week I'll play 4-4-2, and it's still the same. We'll be still playing the same tactics, still same style. Nothing changes. The only thing that's changed is how we set up on the board. So it used to confuse me. I never understood it. But then working with Bielsa, he made it clear why formations are important and why we need to change them, and not just changing them for the sake of it. There was always a reason why, and it would always help us in the game. And it got to the point where he gave the responsibility and the knowledge to the team to be able to change the formations during the game. So we could set up one way when it's kickoff, and then we could look over. Well, we all looked over at the opposition to see what formation they would set up in, and then we might quickly adjust ours to match up with them. So these sort of things, it opened my eyes to understand football a lot more.
And how did he? Because his analysis sessions were quite long, weren't they? So, but how did he? And was he using the translator? I think I'd read that the translator was writing down individual instructions and then giving it to you. Is that right?
So every day before training, we'd go into the meeting, and it will be a presentation on the training session, what we're going to do every day. So before we went out on the grass, we kind of knew what the session was going to look like. And then I think the build up towards the games, maybe after the training, would go back into the meeting room and he would break down the opposition and their strengths, their weaknesses, and how we're going to win the game. So that made it very clear for the team for when it was game day. We didn't, again, he took all the thinking away from us. He gave us all the knowledge, and then we could just go on the pitch and play with a freedom. And then after games, he would get everybody individually and he would get all of our clips, and he would go through the clips of the previous game, let us know what we did well, what we didn't do well. And obviously because it needed translating, the translator would translate it and type it down at the same time and then give us the sheet of paper afterwards. So then again, like I said, sometimes it's easy to lose those pieces of paper. But if I had the journal, I could write it down in the journal and it's there. Luckily, because I was very passionate about this, I kept all my papers. So thankfully I've still got them.
And do you think that, as you say with this journal, it's kind of like I don't know what the culture of this is like in clubs, because I can imagine sometimes players will go into meetings and their attention span might not stay for long, right? But as soon as they see something working, and I guess for you, if you work for a manager like him and you know, writing stuff down and processing this information and listening to him, if that makes you better, if it helps you score more goals, that's probably one way to make a player buy into it and kind of develop this rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But again, with the training Bielsa used to do, his thing was, when we're not coming into training to have fun, we're coming to work. So the sessions weren't enjoyable, but the sessions were at the level to prepare us to win on the Saturday. And majority of the time that was the case. And everyone, all the players brought into it because we were winning. And it doesn't matter what we was doing during the week. The most important thing is winning on the weekend. And we was doing that quite often. So everyone just got on with it. We wasn't bothered about not having so much fun in sessions. We got on with it. It was making us better and we was winning. So again, it's all about the result.
Yeah, and it used to make, what was it, Murderball he called it, or like that horrible, what was that again? Because that's like infamous in football, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the Murderball was just 11 v 11, no throw-ins, no goal kicks. So if the ball went out of play, there was balls around the pitch. You just have to grab the ball and continue.
Wow.
So, and it was designed for fitness. So it was, I can't remember the times. It might have been 4 minute bouts, or maybe even less. But it was just constant. You had to run, sprint. You was never standing still. You could never have a rest. If the keeper took too long on the ball, he would be screaming at them, get it going. And the reason why we called it Murderball is because we kept fouling each other. Because you're so tired, you're getting angry because you're not. One, you're angry because you're tired. Two, you're angry because you might not be getting any free kicks because there was no free kicks. You would just naturally, okay, someone fouls me, you're gonna foul them, and everyone just kept fouling each other in the end. So that's why it was called Murderball.
Yeah, and when you obviously go and work with Vincent Kompany after, who's another manager who's done incredibly well for himself, isn't he? He's had quite the rise. How much better a player were you after working with those before you come to Rangers? How much better of you a player are you for working with those two managers? Different stages of their career, but both influential, and Vincent Kompany and Marcelo Bielsa as well.
Yeah, massive with Marcelo. Like I said, the understanding of the game, the formations, the type of training we was doing, the movements we was doing, the 1-2s we was doing, the different types of runs, sprints I was doing. Learned so much. And then working with Vincent again, he used a different formation that I've never used before. And his thing was, it's a numbers game. So playing out from the back, the goalkeeper, we would always get out because we had more numbers than the opposition. And it was, again, his phrase was respect your position. He's put us in a formation, stand in that formation, and it will work. Just trust it. Move the ball, and there's always a spare man, so you're going to get out. And when we did do this, we was out every time. And it was, again, that opened up my mind with formations and styles of play.
And maybe before we go into a bit more Rangers chat, that you spoke about working with a sports psychologist. How normal is that within clubs? And you say it's becoming more normal, which I presume and see as a positive thing. Is that something you utilised throughout your career? And how normalised was that at different points in your career at different clubs?
I was lucky because I worked with a psychologist called Tom Bates, and he worked for West Brom as a coach / psychologist when I was, I think, maybe 16, 17, around this sort of age. So I was lucky with that and meeting him and starting my psychology career from that age. And it was him I worked with throughout my career. Even still now, still keep in touch with him, still bounce ideas off him. And I think now clubs are hiring psychologists to come in maybe 2-3 times a week to work with players. I never really did that too much just because I just don't know. For me, if I'm going to speak about things, I'm going to be honest and maybe too honest at times. And I'm a bit concerned what I say to this psychologist might go out somewhere else to the manager. Because at the end of the day, it's the manager or the club that's bringing in the psychologist. So for me, I prefer my own psychologist that is nothing to do with the club. It's just me and the psychologist, or me and the journal, so no one else can influence it.
Yeah, fascinating. We'll put links in the description for both of the topics we discussed, the Kemar Roofe Academy, but also the Players Journal. Because I imagine, Kemar, it's not, you don't have to be a professional to do this. This is for young players. It's for players who are trying to make the step up to professional football. Maybe it's just a unanimous thing for anyone who wants to improve themselves on the football pitch or otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. All abilities, all ages. But even I would stress, even if you're not a footballer, still look at doing some type of journaling, because again, a lot of people struggle with overthinking and putting themselves down and negativity. Whereas with journaling, you're writing stuff down, it will help get rid of all these sort of thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. Right, let's talk about Rangers. Our audience will want to hear about your recollections about a certain Steven Gerrard, given the topical timing of this interview. I know you spoke a bit about your Rangers story before, but from your point of view, I imagine it's an incredibly intense club to play for. You've had a bit of distance away from it now. And I know you were back for the Hearts game recently. You were on the pitch and got a fantastic reception at halftime. How do you reflect on it and with a bit of space look back on your years up here in Glasgow?
Like you said, I was up for the Hearts game and I went on the pitch at half-time, and that was my first time back, I don't know, over a year anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe a year and a half. And the reception that I got, it was special. It was as if I just scored a goal or something, or I've just scored the winning goal for the league or a cup. The reception was incredible. And again, this is why the club will mean so much to me, and the fan base will mean so much to me, because of that response and the respect given both ways. It was special.
Yeah. So the move to Rangers, it happens in COVID times, before the just about the only brilliant league season Rangers have had in a long while, but hopefully there's more to come, and it had absolutely everything in it. Talk to me about the move, about if it had come up before, or whether it was just one that materialised that summer, and your kind of process of accepting that and deciding at that point, a key point for you in your career, why that was the right decision at that moment in time.
Well, I heard rumours before I left Leeds to Anderlecht I heard rumours that Rangers were interested then. But then I eventually moved to Anderlecht. Then obviously the whole COVID situation messed up that season, messed up a lot of clubs financially, and then that was the trigger for Anderlecht to be accepting the bid from Rangers. But the week before that, again, I probably said it before, Celtic again asked if I'll be interested in moving there. But then Rangers were the ones that put in the bid, and Anderlecht accepted. I had a few days to think about it, but the gaffer Steven Gerrard rung me, and then as soon as I come off that call, it was a no-brainer. It was, I think I went in the next day to Anderlecht and say, yeah, I'm going to Rangers. The gaffer made it clear what his plan was, what he thought of me, and the amount of confidence he gave me. It was an easy decision.
Do you remember much about that conversation? Because it was an interesting summer in that it was the last chance in many senses for that project to win that title, and a lot of people who have spoken subsequently about that summer say there was like a different focus. You could kind of get away from the noise a bit. There was a bit of a reset because the squad had been away and there was a few additions too. What do you remember about maybe that initial conversation with Gerrard, and also what new teammates told you about, I guess, what had to be achieved when you did arrive at the club that summer?
I think the timing was perfect because the gaffer got me at probably the best time ever, because I was so hungry for success and to do well somewhere because of the frustration of obviously moving to Anderlecht, the frustration of that season because of COVID. I was like a hungry lion, just ready to eat. So I was seriously ready to go, and it was like tunnel vision. I want to be the best player. I want to score goals. I want to win, and that was the mindset. It was like laser focus. Nothing was distracting me. So it was probably the best time to get me. And I got that. And also because with me, when I mentioned tunnel vision, I'm only looking where I'm going. Obviously at the time my focus was Anderlecht. So all I care about was Anderlecht winning, scoring. That was it. So I didn't know what was going on elsewhere. So whatever was happening in Scotland with Rangers or Celtic, I didn't have a clue. So again, I was going into Rangers not having a clue what was happening before me or present. Any pressure or any dramas that were happening, I didn't know about it, so I didn't care about it. So all I know, I was going there to make an impact. So it was probably the best way for me.
Yeah, and that season obviously went so well, and there's lots of bits to get in from that season. But I wonder, just lots of players have come. I know you didn't come directly from England, but you'd spent a lot of your career there, and a lot of players have made that transition and not done it successfully. Were you surprised at the size and the pressure of Rangers? I know you've been at Leeds before. There's obviously the link between the two clubs now. Or were you kind of ready for that? I know the fans weren't in at the start, but even then, I guess the online pressure was like nothing before because of that fact. Did it kind of surprise you, the size of it?
It didn't surprise. Yeah, I would say it surprised me because once you're in it, you really understand how it is. It's hard to explain and experience it from the outside.
Sure.
You only really understand it when you're in the heat of it. So that bit was a surprise, yes. But the demands and the pressure, no, it wasn't, because I've been at Leeds. Leeds is very similar. If you don't perform, they will let you know. Anderlecht, just come from Anderlecht. We was losing a few games. And in Anderlecht, the tradition is you have to walk around the pitch and clap the fans.
Okay.
And behind one of the goals, it's all the ultras. If you've lost that game, they will let you know, and they won't even let you come over to clap them. They will send you away. They'll be like waving their hands.
Yeah.
So I was already used to the demands and the pressure. So again, that didn't really faze me. And unfortunately, the fans weren't in that season. which would have, for me, it would have helped. For when we scored goals to celebrate, it would have been a lot better. But no fans, it shouldn't affect players' performances. We've got a job to do. You go on that pitch to do 100%, work hard, and win the game, regardless of fans or no fans.
That season, what game stood out for you as key to getting over that barrier to win the league? Because I remember it was before I was working covering Rangers. The game that stands out to me is the Motherwell game at home, 3-1, in which I think you scored. Cedric Hitton scored. I think you scored one as well. And that felt so significant because it was the type of game where before you were there, that had tripped Rangers up. They'd managed to do it in Europe and they were getting big games right, but it was breaking teams down, which you seemed to help because you could play alongside a striker or you could play as a striker and you brought goals. That game stands out to me. I remember watching it with my dad, who was about to walk out in 65 minutes from the living room, not the stadium, because he thought, here we go again, but you got over the line. That game, others, what for you was felt like a big barrier for the team to overcome?
Yeah, I think so, and I think maybe that's why I was brought in, because I was able to play, like you said, as a 9 or as a 10 or as a 11 or a 7. So I could go in many positions, and also for me, again, the psychology kicks in. And it's about, there's no pressure, there's no anxiousness. I'm not feeling any of that. I'm just thinking, okay, I've still got a chance. Something's still going to happen. Just be ready for that. When that chance comes, be ready. And just keep trying to get myself in positions to get this chance. And I think that was probably maybe something that really helped me in those situations, because like you said, a lot of these goals and situations happened at the back end of the game when people were getting nervous, maybe. But for me, that's the perfect time, because the defense is tired, the opposition is tired. There's only so much they can handle. So if I'm still switched on and ready for this, it's the perfect timing for me to make an impact.
Yeah, and your role in that kind of tactical setup, I guess, maybe different from the strict positional style you described under Company in the build-up and staying in your zones, but still very, I guess, formulaic in different ways. But you played alongside Alfredo Morelos. You spent time as a number 9. You had James Tavernier probably in the peak of his career providing assists. I think of the goal you scored away at Ross County in a 4-0 win is one that stands out to me. Why did it function so well that season? Why was the combination so good? And of your teammates, I know everyone had a brilliant season that season, but who did you maybe enjoy playing with in particular?
Yeah, like you said, for me, I was brought in on the phone call with the gaffer. And at Anderlecht, I was just a 9, strict 9. Even though rewind with Bielsa, he saw me. He played me as a 9, but he said I can play 9, 10, 11, or 7. But he played me as a 9, and I think if I stayed the following season, I would have played more as a 10. Then I got the move to Anderlecht, and I was just a 9, standing between the 2 centre backs and don't come deep, just stay there. And that was the role I had to play. And then when I come to Rangers, I was told I'll be a 9. But we played different positions and formations. So I said, okay. So in my head, I was thinking I was mainly just going to be a 9. But most of the time in that season, I was more of a 10 or a slightly wider. I think Morelos played as a 9 more, or we had Defoe, we had Itten. So it was one of those, because I could play different positions, it allowed more number 9s to play as the number 9 instead of me, which I didn't mind, because in that formation, that style of play, we was linking up, we could move anywhere, it was free flowing, it was attacking, so it was good for me. But players that we played with, everyone, like I said, everyone could just mix and go anywhere. It was very attacking football, and like you said, Tavernier and Borna on the wides, getting deliveries in. It helped a lot.
Alfredo Morelos, character, I imagine a character to play with. He had some striking unit that season, if you think of yourself and Jermaine Defoe and Alfredo Morelos. What was he like to play with? Because he was, he had his moments, but he had so many brilliant moments, and when he was on it, kind of felt unstoppable. And that season, he had an injury at the start of the season. I think a game against Dundee United, and then you played maybe as a focal point more. Came back and had a really strong end to the season. What was he like as a teammate, and what was he like to play with as well?
Yeah, like you said, he was a character. And I think he could speak more English than people thought.
He just didn't want to do a press conference, did he?
Yeah, exactly. But in the dressing room, he got on with everybody. Everyone liked him. But again, you need these sort of characters to play at a club like this. You need something about you. And he definitely had a lot about him. And that's why I think he was successful at Rangers. He didn't care what people said, what they did. He still did what he needed to do. And again, I've got a lot of respect for him because I know in the difficult times, say, if there's a little back and forth between defenders and myself or other players, he'll be one of the first players to back it up and support his teammate. And for me, I have a lot of respect for situations like that.
Yeah, and Gerrard, then let's talk about him because he's topical. I also want to hear about Gio and the road to Seville and that incredibly memorable run. When we're talking on Thursday. That potential for Gerrard to return as Rangers manager is very, very strong. Still some work to do, but very possible. What made him successful as a Rangers manager? Because basically no one else has been in the last 10, 15 years in terms of actually winning a league title. What was it that he got right from your experience of working with him at the club?
Yes, we won the league that season, but it was all the other seasons, previous seasons, the stuff he'd done behind the scenes that built up for the title winning season. So before me, each season he kept adding to the squad, getting better players into the squad, growing the squad. He was doing stuff around the training ground, around the stadium to improve it. So he obviously brought his standards from his playing days to Rangers. And wanted to bring the level up, and he did that, and that then resulted in winning the league. But obviously, everyone just looks at that season when we won the league, but it was the previous years and the work that he put in before that. And then we were just lucky enough; we had the right mix of players to then win the league when we did. Again, he's one of the best England player, probably the best England player ever, in a lot of people's opinion. And he carries himself with that sort of presence as well, but still humble to be. You can have a conversation with him. But like I said, when he rung me, he was singing my praises, and I'm thinking, a person like this that's done what he's done, is singing my praises.
Yeah,
there's no ego, there's no bad ego there. But then on the flip side, you need a presence, you need the big shoulders, you need to be able to push your chest out at a club like Rangers. And again, he's got that in abundance.
That's an interesting balance, though, as you say, because I was thinking about this just this week, that if any person, any player, any manager probably had a bit of an excuse to come up and underestimate Scottish football and think I can do this, it would have been someone like Gerrard, right, with his stature and his career. But he didn't do that, in that he speaks very openly and spoke very openly about building out a management team to effectively complement his weaknesses. And he was speaking about that again on the podcast with Rio Ferdinand this week. But it's an interesting blend where he had the humility to do that. But then do you think that role of a figurehead is almost needed in a Rangers manager / head coach to be successful, just because it is so big? And I think the club almost needs like a statesman-like figure leading it. I think the fans almost require that. Is that fair? Is that your kind of experience?
Yeah, no, I think it's a must. At a club like Rangers, you need somebody that's strong enough and confident enough in themselves, but also have a bit of history to be able to back this up as well. and to also have to demand the respect from the fans, because that's what it comes down to. If the fans respect you, they will back you, and if they see any bit of weakness or chink in the armor, then they'll be onto you. Because again, I've told everyone about my experience in Scotland. The Scottish people are one of the most honest and upfront people you can meet. Whether you want them to be honest or not, they're going to give it to you straight. Which for me, I respect that a lot. And you know where you stand then. So as a manager, you have to be that sort of superhero type person. Again, a mix of humility and confidence / ego to be able to handle any pressure and demand.
And how would he work it with the staff behind the scenes? Because he would he would take training sessions to an extent, but he'd have a bit of an ability to like step back almost and again have the space to maybe make some of the big decisions. Is that fair that he was hands-on, but maybe not like a control freak who needed to have
everything? Yeah, again, that's probably one of his strengths. He wasn't a control freak. And he would listen. As a man manager, very good. If any of the players had any issues or problems, you could go and knock on his door and speak to him about it. He'll help you as much as possible. He would even notice if you've got an issue. So some players might come in with, I don't know, different type of body language. Something might have happened at home. He'll be able to read you and pick this up, and he'll call you in, or he'll grab you on the pitch and ask, "What's up? Is everything okay?" I remember I had something went wrong with a family member of mine. He found out. He sent me back down the road to be with my family for a few days. So things like this, it goes such a long way for players, and then players will literally run through brick walls for managers, head coaches that handle players in this way. And like you said, he would delegate certain jobs to certain people, but then oversee everything. And he will then drop in his input and wisdom when needed, and everyone took note and listened when this happened.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And when you did win that title, everyone's locked out the day both the day it's confirmed and the day you're given the trophy against Aberdeen, where you win 4-0. You score, I think, a couple on that day, if I'm not mistaken. What was that last couple of months like? Because everything had clicked up to that point. But then after that day, when you beat St Mirren at home and the fans are kind of outside, up until the game against Aberdeen, where you've all got to kind of drive through the streets lined with Rangers supporters to collect the trophy, was that the most special moment you've had in football? What was it like to kind of live out those couple of months?
Yeah, it was amazing, because again, it was my first bit of silverware, serious silverware, winning the league at a place like Rangers. The history, the demands, the massive fan base. The only obviously negative were the fans weren't able to be in the stadium, but they made it clear that they were still watching, still involved. They were outside every stadium. They were letting off fireworks while we was playing. So it was an exciting period, but it was just disappointing we wasn't able to share it a bit more with the fans.
Yeah, definitely. And the next season you did have, obviously, when the league, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst comes in. You get so close to that immortal European title. What was he like? Because I guess he was a different type of manager to Gerrard. He still, I guess, had the aura and the figurehead because of the career he had. And was he, from your point of view, again, leaning on the journals and learning and noting things down? Was he more of like a tactician and a tweaker from game to game, which is maybe what helped you in those European nights, and in particular on the road to Seville?
I think he was more set up defensively, and as an attacker, that's not the kind of style I enjoy, because you put in more defensive type players on the pitch rather than attacking type players. So there's less opportunities for the attackers. Whereas obviously under the gaffer Gerrard, it was free flow, and it was more attacking players on the pitch than defensive players.
Yeah.
And we was having a good run with him as well in Europa League.
Yeah.
But I think with under Van Bronckhorst, why we got that success was we were nicking results. We were solid at the back, hard to break down. We weren't conceding goals, and then we was nicking a goal, winning 1-0s or 2-1s, and we was getting through the cup like that. And I think that was probably the perfect style for tournament football.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the league, you have to have a different style. You can't implement that kind of style of football in the league.
Interesting. And maybe because you had to change it week to week with not much turnaround time, and you hadn't had a pre-season, because it was close to the league that season, wasn't it? But you just couldn't quite get over the line. But it's interesting that you pick up that stylistic difference maybe benefited you more in European football than it did domestic, when you needed to go out and dominate games more obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Because we was probably playing, the teams we was playing in Europa League were probably naturally better teams than us.
Yeah.
With better players, so they would have more possession. So we'd set up in a way that complemented that. But then when it comes to the league game, it's flipped. We're the ones with the possession. We're the ones that attacking, but we didn't have a different style from the Europa League to the league. We still kept the same style going into the league, and it just wasn't really working in the league where it would work in Europa League.
If we just zoom out, Kemar, what is it like? You've played for Rangers for what, four managers in 4 years, is that right?
Yeah.
That, from an outside perspective, again, I know that it's new ownership now, and still not been a simple season by any stretch of the imagination. But there was a bit of a line in the sand. What's that like as a player to switch from style to style, from training session to training style to training style? Because when you spoke about Gerrard, I know you were only there for his third season, but you said that he was able to build over time, add quality in different areas, kind of do it a little bit in his image with sporting directors too. Did it feel like, as a player, when you're switching from style to style all the time, is that difficult to build something effectively when you're under that type of pressure?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it is. When you keep changing styles, managers, because every manager comes in, they want to implement their way of playing. And now the players have to learn this, not just learn it mentally, as in tactics wise, but physically. It might be a different demand. They might want you to run in a different type of way, but you've trained to run in this way. So again, the body has to adjust to this. So it's not ideal at all. Keep changing managers. It's obviously ideal world would be keep the same manager and just keep adding one or two players if needed each season, and keep building that way. But it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, I want to talk about, you've been very generous with your time. I want to talk about some of your favourite goals at Rangers. I know Standard Liège is the obvious one. I remember watching it in the same living room I'm in now, and just again back, but I was still at uni at the time, so I didn't have the excuse of working on the game and having to remain neutral, and I was screaming at you to kick it into the corner or keep it. That must be you must still watch that back and think, what a moment. And did you, from the moment you picked up that ball, because it was a really wet pitch that night too, wasn't it? Did you from that moment know you were going to do that? Because you beat a couple of players before you did it as well.
Well, again, every time I watch a game and when I'm playing a game, I always have a little glance at where the keeper is, because I like to know my surroundings, try and be one step ahead of what's going to happen. So I always see the keeper's always off his line. But in that moment in time, my main priority was secure the ball, because as a striker, you come onto the pitch as a striker, your job is to hold the ball up and give your teammates a bit of a breather and a rest. And that's your main job, especially when you're under the cosh like we were. So I remember the ball coming to me. So I was so determined to keep hold of this ball, because if I was to lose it and the team was to score, everything's on me. So I think that's where you saw I was just wriggling through everything. I was winning tackles, wriggling through everything, holding it up. I just was so determined not to lose it.
Yeah.
But then I just felt, obviously, there were so many players just hunting me down. So I thought, let me just hit it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? We get up the pitch. It goes out for a goal kick. We get up the pitch and start again. But thankfully, it went in.
Yeah. Yeah, incredible moment. I was recording something with Rangers TV recently, a new series called, I think it's called Game Changers, where they take specific goals or moments and they, hopefully I'm not betraying confidence before this is out, but nonetheless, and they were talking about that goal, and it's still, watching it back, you can't believe, even though you know it's going to go in, you don't think it's going to go in, but an incredible moment. Aside from that, do you have a favourite goal? I think of Braga on the way to the Europa League final. I think of the Old Firm header. I think of one you scored, which was really significant, just before Gerrard left against Hibs. I can't remember if it was a winner that day or the equaliser in the game where Gerrard went round the pitch after and kind of gave it the big one to the fans and displayed his emotion. What stands out for you in terms of the most enjoyable goals you scored while you were up here?
Oh, that's a difficult question. For me, it's the last minute goals that are the. It's not so much how fancy or how nice the goal looked. It's more the meaning behind it. Mm-hmm. If it got us the 3 points, if it won the game for us, that's more important. So like the one Aberdeen, is it the semi-final?
Semi-final. It was I think it was one of Michael Beale's. It was like the second month he was back in the job, wasn't it? So
exactly. So that goal was massive. I like the chest goal against Celtic because obviously one thing as a striker you have to score against Celtic. Mm-hmm. What else?
The Braga goal must be up there.
Yeah, like you said, Braga. That game was
crazy.
Was very good. That was one of my favorite games. Definitely top 3 of my favorite games ever. So it had everything in that game. That was up there. Yeah, and then Real Betis, just because of the quality of the side and the players that played in it.
And that was another goal where you kind of reacted, wasn't it? It was following a corner and you spun on the ball and scored in the 82nd, 83rd minute to win it 3-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of good moments. As I say, Kemar, you've been really generous with your time. Maybe just as we finish off, I'm not going to ask you to go into the game by game blow of this season because there's not much that Rangers supporters will want to remember about it. But if you look at Rangers where they are now, what do you think they need from your experience of being so immersed in this for the past number of years? What is it that is required, I guess, to get back to the successes that you had early in your time at the club?
A figurehead, a gaffer, head coach, or whatever you want to call him, someone that can handle. For me, seeing it from as a player, looking at managers, it's the pressure that gets to managers.
Sure.
And it's someone that can handle the pressure is the ones that are more successful. So, like you said, the gaffer Gerrard, he's someone that can handle the pressure. He's been there, done it as a player, and has obviously done it already for Rangers. It's someone that can lead the line, lead the team and handle the pressure, because then it just trickles down to the staff. It trickles down to the players, and it creates a very good environment at the training ground. If the training ground environment is solid, doesn't matter what happens elsewhere. Again, we had it that season. It was all about the environment at the training ground. It was our bubble. No one could penetrate it. Doesn't matter what was happening in the news or what people were saying. It couldn't come into the training ground and affect us, because whatever we did at the training ground, it would then carry it out on the pitch and hopefully get the result that we want. So someone that can implement this kind of environment, it will be massive for the players.
Yeah, fascinating. And if Kemar, we'll put the links in the description, but if people want to follow the stuff you're doing now, they want to find out more about the Two Halves Journal and your academy too, all on, is Instagram the best place for that? We'll put the links in.
Yes, Instagram and their websites. So just just come and visit and message or whatever, and I'll try and respond to as many people as possible myself.
Brilliant. Well, you've been extremely generous with your time. We've been very grateful to have Kemar Roofe today on the Rangers Review. Check out the relevant links in the description, and we will speak to you again soon. Bye.